Chapter 8. Everything happened fast. A black-gloved hand shot in through the window bars, and James tried to bite it. An envelope skittered and dinged into the lamp. By the time I got over there, James was half in and half hanging out the window. By now he was growling like the MGM lion, with his mouth full of leather, and the leather full of hand. The person whose hand it was didn't take it well. "Watch out, James!" I hollered as a second gloved hand tried to hammer down the window, nearly cutting off his tail. Just nearly. James beat it by a 23rd of a blink. Zip! Bang! He was out. Trouble is, I was in. I was locked in and watching it, helplessly, hopelessly, hurling myself at the window panes as James hit the ground. From there, it was just a lot of comic book noises. Oof! Arg! Ugh! Ig! Pow! Growl! Youch! The man was in shadows, and James was a fur blur. What I saw was that James had him neatly by the trouser leg. The man tried to kick at him, but James jumped away, and then zam! He was back again, leaping courageously and grabbing the man's belt, and then hanging there, growling, chewing the man's turtleneck, and chinning himself up. The man tried to yank at him, but James held his ground. And then suddenly he lost it. The man grabbed a hold of him, lifted him by the tail, and then hurled him into the atmosphere. James seemed to fly. So high I lost sight of him. The man lost him too. He raised his eyes heavenwards and offered me a quick, dark impression of his face. A kind of slick, ugly handsome. Gold earring, cleft chin. Then he turned, and after that it was sound effects again. A lot of clomp clomp, slam, vroom, screech, and he was gone. After that, there was nothing. Just the cold, empty gutter and the glittering of the moon. I stood on the windowsill and waited while the seconds turned slowly into minutes, and the minutes grew long, gray, tangled-looking beards. Then a pale, sandy rocket seemed to tumble out of the sky and come crashing onto the sidewalk. It shuddered for a moment, then it smiled. It was James. "What happened?" I mouthed at him. He raised himself carefully and gestured into the air. First he pointed up, then he pointed down, then he pointed sideways and scampered into the night. For a time, I just sat there and scratched myself on the ear. James, I decided, was a genuine movie star. A near-mythic creature that is not found in life but makes a living on the screen. Like Roadrunner, Schwarzenegger, Lassie, Stallone. Guys who get massacred and pop up smiling like toast from a toaster. Guys who get labeled, "Don't try this at home." I leapt to the tabletop and tripped, and then skidded on the underside of an envelope, the one that our maniac had just hand-delivered. It was one of those oversized, plain manila envelopes that closed with a metal clasp. I sighed, flipped it over. Mrs. Pamela Angelhoff was written across the front. I knew what was in it. Bad news has a smell, and it rose out of the paper like the breath of an old hound. I pried up the fastener, and there it was. The note said, "Sandy earns 40 grand a year. Make it 40,000 if you want to get him back. We'll call you tomorrow. No cops. No press." The Polaroid included showed a sick-looking Sandy in a big dented carton with a rope around his neck. The carton said BALLG, and the rest of it was covered with a black leather hand. I was still checking the carton out when James, perfect timing, entered quietly from the hall. He was slightly, but only just slightly out of breath, and his general expression was a war hero grin. I mean a movie war hero. Not a scratch on his belly, not a hair out of place. I stared at him. "So, you want to tell me what happened?" "Not particularly, no. You want to show me what's in the envelope?" I shoved it into his paw and then waited while he looked at it. "A ransom note," he said. I nodded. "And I think it's got a clue in the first line." He glanced at it. "I'm not a Detective Sam," he said. "I mean, to me it's just a line. Very simple. Very plain. He read it to me. Sandy earns 40 grand a year. Uh-huh, I said. Does he? Earn 40 grand a year? James nodded. That's a fact. How do you know that it's a fact? I mean, I wouldn't know it. Well, of course, you wouldn't know it. This is top secret insider gossip, old buddy. Strictly show business talk. That's the point, I said. That anyone who'd know Sandy's salary would have to be in the business. He grinned at me, a look very close to admiration. You're good, he said, aren't you? Occasionally, yeah. Only how many people are we talking about? 50? 100? Not at all. Let me see. I'd say you've got it down to 10, 20 people. Like booking agents, managers. Managers. I looked at him. Exactly what do they do? Beats me, he said. Mine doesn't even pick me up. I waited. A manager... James cleared his throat. Is something like a cross between a roommate and a flea. They live with you and off you, if you follow what I'm saying. They collect all your paychecks, and then they give you table scraps, and make you sleep on the floor. Uh-huh, I said. And how big's an understudy's paycheck? It's nothing, Sam. Or not unless he actually does a job. Uh-huh, I said. James cocked his head at me and frowned. Are you thinking maybe Felix's manager? Felix the understudy, yeah, I said. Right. I mean, think about it. Understudy's hired about a year ago. Understudy's manager fumes about the bread. How it should have been Felix's. It should have been... No, not Felix's, his. And it isn't just the money, Sam. He thinks about the perks. The perks? The kind of stuff that makes you perk up your ears. I mean, the marketing possibilities. The Felix the Cat t-shirts. The Felix the Cat toys. I thought about it. Thought about the fortunes of Felix, which were even now rising like the bubbles in a tub. And this gets it for him, doesn't it? Everything. Now. I mean, the manager gets the money and Felix will get the job. James nodded, like he's killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I wish you hadn't said that. What? He said. Kill. We said nothing after that. James started pacing back and forth across the room. Since our thoughts were unspeakable, we left them unspoken. Okay, I said. So what do you know about him? Who? You mean Felix? I never even heard of him till tonight. The only thing I know is that Everett's going, Babe, I want him Monday afternoon. I was staring at him. Monday? Yeah, Monday the 31st. Oh, terrific, I said. Tomorrow is only Saturday, the 29th. I fumbled around with a note again and pushed it under the lamp. Tomorrow, it threatened me. We'll call you tomorrow. I had to find Felix's manager tonight. If I was wrong about him, well, I could worry about it later, but not as late as Monday. By Monday, 3 days from now, Sandy could be... Hold it, I said. There has to be a way to figure it out. There does? He said. Why? Because there has to be, I said. I thought a while. Babe. Who's Babe? You mean Babe as in Babe get me Felix? He shrugged. I don't know. You want to guess? I'd have to guess it was a booking agent, Sam. Except the trouble is there's 97 agencies in town and maybe 50 million Felixes. Swell, I said. Spit. It was my turn to pace. I paced around the windowsill and circled around the lamp. And then suddenly it hit me. The answer was as obvious as the wall. The phone, I said triumphantly. Humph? Where's the phone? It was up in the office. Upstairs. 2nd floor. A kind of show-busy office with a slick leather sofa and a cluttered-looking desk. Pictures of movie stars glinted off the walls. Ex-starlets who used to be in surf and sand movies who are now selling denture cream. Hall of Fame pitchers who are now pitching tea. The phone was a speakerphone. One of those fancy ones with 79 buttons. Okay, I said. So Everett was the one who made the call. James nodded. Half an hour ago, Sam, and then he left. All right, I said nervously. Here goes everything or nothing, James. Watch. I pressed on a button. Which button? Redial. I waited while the telephone figured out the number that Everett had recently dialed, the number that I hoped would be the fast track to Felix. The telephone sputtered a little harsh electric tune, and then ring, 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 ring. I was tingling with the tension of attention. My ears cocked forward like a double-barreled gun. Then a voice answered suddenly. Animal Attractions, New York's finest agency for animals and birds. This is Selma. Hold the phone. Click, click. She left me stranded on an intergalactic island in the middle of empty air. I clicked off the speaker. Selma Gigley, James said. Booking agent, talent scout, and one sneaky babe. I leapt off the blotter. Are you coming, James? I asked. Coming where? He said, following. I squinted at him. Guess.